In 1985, The Color Purple didn't just tell a story. It exposed pain Hollywood had long ignored. Behind its powerful performances were real lives shaped by trauma, silence, sudden fame, and unforgiving industry judgment. By 2026, some rose, some disappeared, and others paid a quiet price for telling the truth on screen. This is what really happened to the Color Purple cast, then and now. Whoopi Goldberg as Celie. Whoopi Goldberg was born November 13, 1955 in New York City. She was 29 years old when she starred as Celie in The Color Purple, 1985, a brutal, transformative role that carried the emotional weight of the entire film and permanently altered her life and career. Goldberg's debut performance earned her an Academy Award nomination, but fame did not bring safety. Instead, it exposed deep fractures. In the late 1980s, as she transitioned into mainstream stardom with films like Ghost, 1990, her personal life unraveled. She endured a series of failed marriages, later admitting that fame amplified her inability to maintain intimacy. At the same time, she battled cocaine addiction, a struggle she has openly described as a period of emotional numbness rather than rebellion. As her career expanded into comedy, television, and hosting, most notably The View, her body began to push back. Chronic pain, exhaustion, and stress accumulated quietly over decades of relentless work. The most terrifying moment arrived in 2019 when Goldberg was hospitalized with pneumonia complicated by sepsis, a life-threatening condition that nearly killed her. By 2026, Whoopi Goldberg is 70 years old. She remains active as a television host, producer, and cultural voice, no longer chasing validation, but standing as one of the few performers to achieve EGOT status. Oprah Winfrey as Sophia. Born January 29, 1954, Oprah Winfrey is a native of Kosciuszko, Mississippi, United States. She was 31 years old when she portrayed Sophia, the fiercely defiant woman who refuses submission in The Color Purple. Raised in poverty and subjected to childhood sexual abuse, Winfrey poured lived pain into Sophia's rage and dignity. The role earned her an Academy Award nomination, yet Hollywood did not know what to do with her afterward. Despite the acclaim, acting offers slowed, and the industry quietly signaled that her size, voice, and intensity did not fit its leading lady mold. Rather than fight a system that resisted her, Oprah pivoted, choosing control over validation. That pivot came with emotional weight. As she built The Oprah Winfrey Show into a cultural force through the late 1980s and 1990s, she confronted public scrutiny of her body, her trauma, and her refusal to marry or conform. She openly discussed depression, disordered eating, and the long psychological shadow of abuse, transforming personal vulnerability into collective healing. Films like Beloved, 1998, arrived later, reflecting her desire to tell stories of Black pain on her own terms. Now, in 2026, Oprah Winfrey is 72 years old. She stands as one of the most influential media figures in history, her legacy defined not by the roles she was denied, but by the empire she built after refusing to be confined by them. Danny Glover as Albert Mister. Danny Glover, born July 22, 1946, in San Francisco, California. He was 39 years old when he played Albert Mister in The Color Purple, embodying one of the most emotionally violent and morally complex men ever placed at the center of an American studio film. In his early 20s, he was diagnosed with epilepsy, a condition that threatened to end his acting ambitions before they began. For years, seizures, fear, and physical limitations shadowed his training and early work, forcing him to build discipline and emotional control long before fame arrived. Roles in Places in the Heart, 1984, showed promise, but The Color Purple pushed him into a different realm, where his performance as Mr. drew both acclaim and backlash. Viewers hated the character so intensely that the anger often bled onto the actor himself, complicating public perception at the exact moment his career was breaking through. As success followed, most visibly with Lethal Weapon, 1987, and its sequels, his private life fractured under pressure. His long marriage to Asake Bomani ended in divorce in 2000 after decades together. A separation Glover has described as painful but unavoidable as his life split between global fame and personal grounding. Rather than retreat, he leaned outward, into political activism, humanitarian work, and outspoken advocacy on labor, race, and global justice, often at the cost of mainstream favor. In 2026, Danny Glover is 79 years old. He works selectively in film and television, but remains deeply active as an activist and public intellectual. Margaret Avery as Shug Avery. Margaret Avery was born January 20th, 1944 in Mangum, Oklahoma. She was 41 years old when she played Shug Avery in The Color Purple, 1985, a magnetic, sexually liberated blues singer whose presence challenged Hollywood's comfort with black female autonomy. Avery earned an Academy Award nomination, and for a brief moment, it appeared she had shattered every barrier in her path. In the years immediately following The Color Purple, she struggled to even secure consistent representation, a brutal irony for an actress fresh off one of the most celebrated performances of the decade. Roles that came her way were limited, often confined to narrowly defined black films, projects segregated by budget, distribution, and perception rather than talent. Avery spoke openly about the systemic inequality she faced. Fewer auditions, lower pay, and creative spaces that rarely imagined black women as complex leads beyond stereotypes. Gender-compounded race. While male co-stars transitioned into broader careers, she watched momentum stall, internalizing the industry's silence as a form of erasure. Appearing in films like Welcome Home, Roscoe Jenkins, 2008, and working steadily in television and theater, Avery rebuilt her relationship with the craft on her own terms. By 2026, Margaret Avery is 82 years old. She lives quietly, occasionally acting, frequently speaking, and firmly remembered as a performer whose courage on screen outpaced the industry's willingness to meet her there. Rae Dawn Chong as Squeak, Mary Agnes. Born February 28, 1961, Rae Dawn Chong was born in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. She was 24 years old when she appeared as Squeak, Mary Agnes in The Color Purple, 1985, a fragile yet defiant character whose voice became one of the film's quiet turning points. The film elevated Chong into the Hollywood conversation almost overnight, building on the promise she had shown earlier in Quest for Fire, 1981. Yet the momentum proved unstable. In the years following The Color Purple, she encountered a familiar contradiction: visibility without security. While she continued working in projects like Commando, 1985, the industry's interest skewed toward spectacle rather than growth, leaving little room for sustained dramatic development. Chong has spoken about navigating Hollywood while carrying the pressure of lineage, identity, and independence, never fully belonging to any single category the industry understood. As roles thinned in the 1990s, financial strain and emotional exhaustion followed. Unlike peers who vanished suddenly, Chong's fade was gradual, marked by sporadic television appearances and missed opportunities rather than scandal. Now, Rae Dawn Chong is 65 years old. She continues to appear occasionally in film and television, while also speaking candidly about survival, resilience, and the cost of being visible without protection. Akosua Busia as Nettie. Akosua Busia, born December 30th, 1966 in Accra, Ghana. She was 18 years old when she played Nettie in The Color Purple, 1985, Ceely's younger sister and the film's moral heartbeat, educated, hopeful, and determined to survive beyond violence. After the film, Busia continued to move between acting, poetry, and writing, her talent unquestioned, her momentum uneven. She appeared in projects such as Rosewood, 1997, yet consistently resisted Hollywood's narrow, limiting expectations for black women. In 1996, she married acclaimed director John Singleton. The union, however, unraveled swiftly. Within a year, only months after the birth of their daughter, Hadar, the marriage ended in divorce. Busia stepped away from the entertainment industry for the next 18 years, choosing motherhood over visibility. Her name quietly vanished from casting lists. A once promising career did not collapse. It was laid down. In 2016, after Hadar turned 18, Busia re-emerged on Broadway in Eclipsed, delivering a performance shaped by years of restraint, resilience, and lived truth. As of 2026, Akosua Busia, at 59, works selectively in theater and writing, an artist who stepped back for motherhood and returned only on her own terms. Leonard Jackson, as Pa. Leonard Jackson was born February 7, 1928 in Chicago. He was 57 years old when he appeared as Pa in The Color Purple, 1985, portraying Sally's abusive father, one of the film's most disturbing embodiments of inherited violence and silence. Before acting brought him wider recognition, he lived a parallel life as a classically trained opera singer, performing internationally in an industry that rarely allowed black men to cross freely between opera and film. Though his talent was respected, his screen roles stayed narrow, often authority figures or morally conflicted men. After The Color Purple, his career remained steady rather than transformative, with films like Boomerang and Malcolm X showcasing his quiet gravitas more than true stardom. In his later years, Jackson was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, a slow, erasing illness that stripped away memory, independence, and the identity he had spent decades building. The decline was not sudden or dramatic. It unfolded quietly, mirroring the way his career had often existed at the margins, despite deep respect from peers. As the disease progressed, Jackson withdrew from public life, his voice and presence fading from the stage and screen he once commanded. Leonard Jackson died on December 22, 2013, in Manhattan, New York, at the age of 85, from complications related to Alzheimer's disease. Adolph Caesar, as Old Mr. Born December 5, 1933, Adolph Caesar was born in New York City. He was 51 years old when he appeared as Old Mr. in The Color Purple, 1985, a brief but emotionally crushing role that carried the weight of generational cruelty and regret. For more than 2 decades, Caesar worked almost entirely out of the spotlight. He was a core member of the Negro Ensemble Company, earning deep respect on stage while remaining largely unknown to mainstream audiences. His gravelly, authoritative voice became familiar through commercials and blaxploitation film trailers, but his face rarely followed. Everything finally changed in the mid-1980s. In 1984, Caesar delivered a career-defining performance as the authoritarian Sergeant Waters in A Soldier's Story, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor after already winning Obie and Drama Desk Awards for the stage version. Steven Spielberg cast him in The Color Purple, 1985, cementing his arrival just as his long struggle seemed to end. In March 1986, only 2 days into filming the comedy Tough Guys in Los Angeles alongside legends Burt Lancaster and Kirk Douglas, Caesar suffered a heart attack on set. He was rushed for treatment but died shortly afterward on March 6, 1986, at just 52 years old. The role he had barely begun was reassigned to Eli Wallach. Caesar did not get the second act his talent had finally earned. Dana Ivey as Miss Millie. Born August 12, 1941, Dana Ivey was born in Atlanta, Georgia. She was 44 years old when she appeared as Miss Millie in The Color Purple, 1985, a seemingly gentle white missionary whose polite surface masked the film's quietest form of racial condescension. Long before that role, in the 1970s, she was struck by Guillain-Barré syndrome, a rare and severe neurological disorder that caused partial paralysis and left her unable to walk for months. The illness arrived without warning, stripping her of physical control at the very moment her stage career was gaining momentum. Recovery was slow, painful, and uncertain. There was no guarantee she would ever return to acting. When Ivey did return, she leaned into character work rather than stardom, building credibility through theater and later film roles that valued restraint over flash. The Color Purple placed her at the center of moral discomfort, Miss Millie's well-meaning cruelty reflecting a society blind to its own harm. In the years that followed, Ivey worked steadily, earning critical respect in films like The Addams Family, 1991, and later acclaim on stage, including multiple Tony Award nominations. Now in 2026, Dana Ivey, at 84, lives a quiet and largely private life, having stepped away from regular acting. Steven Spielberg as director. Born December 18, 1946, Steven Spielberg was born in Cincinnati, Ohio. He was 38 years old when he directed The Color Purple, 1985, stepping into the role of storyteller for a deeply painful narrative centered on Black women's suffering, survival, and resilience. By the mid-1980s, Spielberg was already Hollywood's most powerful filmmaker. Jaws, 1975, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, 1977, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1982, had made him untouchable, commercially unmatched, culturally dominant, and trusted by studios without limits. The Color Purple marked a radical departure. No fantasy, no spectacle, no white male hero at the center. Almost immediately, Spielberg faced intense criticism from Black writers, feminists, and cultural critics, who argued that a white male director could not fully inhabit the interior lives of abused Black women. Despite 11 Academy Award nominations, the film won 0 Oscars, a historic shutout widely interpreted as both industry politics and discomfort with the project itself. In the years that followed, he gravitated toward historical guilt, moral reckoning, and human trauma, most notably Schindler's List, 1993, the film many critics see as his artistic atonement, where personal pain replaced aesthetic restraint. In 2026, Steven Spielberg is 79 years old. He continues directing selectively and producing extensively, regarded as one of the most powerful figures in film history. The Color Purple was never just a film about suffering, it was about survival after the suffering ends. Some of its cast rose into power, some stepped away by choice, and others were claimed by illness, silence, or cruel timing. 4 decades later, their lives remind us that telling the truth on screen often comes at a cost few are prepared to pay.